Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I discuss brand. What is it? How do you come up with it? And what are ours? Do they need work? Absolutely. Hope you enjoy. Hi, James.
Hello. How are we?
You look nervous. I see you're down there.
I am. I'm very nervous.
Well, you're down there in the marketing wing.
Yes.
And,
yes.
We both, of course, as Gifted Underachievers, we share a brand, but we also run our own, our own creative and creative adjacent businesses. So I want to ask you, what's your brand?
And that's why I'm nervous, because that's a tough question to answer. Mm-hmm. And I think, what is my brand? So one of the things that I've noticed is when somebody new comes to me who's a prospect, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I hear a lot towards the end of the conversations is they feel really good about the conversation, that I've shared a lot of information. I've been open. I've been genuine. I haven't tried to push a sale.
Yeah.
Nobody feels rushed. So I think part of the brand, and I'm not sure how to phrase it, but sort of knowledgeable, easygoing, but professional.
Yeah.
Where people feel comfortable with me and like working with me is not going to be a chore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're saying, oh, I have to work with this person. Though I often feel like if I can get into conversation with somebody, more than likely they're going to want to work with me, because I try to be open and I'm knowledgeable and experienced about things. So I guess that's kind of it is this, boy, I wish I had a really nice little phrase, because I think it's really important for anybody who's trying to brand themselves or a business to really be able to state it in a very clear and succinct way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier for me to state, like, what is my brand as a fiction writer?
Yeah.
Is, I explore the sort of angst and weirdnesses of suburban life.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where I focus right now.
Yeah.
I've written about other things, and I have a novel that takes place in Spain during the Civil War that I'm working on, kind of in the background. But really, the stuff that energizes me in the writing that tends to be my short stories, and the novel that I'm really working on really, is about exploring suburban life. So that's kind of my brand as a fiction writer.
Yeah. That makes sense.
How would you? Yeah. So, flipping it back to you, what is your brand?
Well, I just, before we turn away from you, I actually wonder.
You're not going to let me rush for the exit?
Nope. There's a Rottweiler in the way. I'm wondering if, as an experiment, it would be worth writing out your brand statement for your nonfiction writing, like for the writing you do for, as a ghostwriter. So curious about that. Okay, so my brand, you know what? I'm in a similar place. My personal, approach to things is to be generous with information and insight as a way to help writers decide who to work with when they're looking for an editor. So I start out by giving quite a bit, similar to your calls, but I do it via what I call a sample edit, and I write a short memo about the book, the parts of the book that I read. And, I do that for free, and I just make it clear in that document that if they wanted to get some workable insight that they can use basically immediately, whether or not they work for me, then that's what I present to them. And then they start going, okay, well, we need to work together. So I also have my company name for editing is Lucid Edit. And then my little publishing imprint is called Lucid Editions. And my Lucid Editions imprint has books for bright thinkers as my little tagline. What the fuck that means, I have no idea. I just like the way it sounded. And then my Lucid Edit thing, I think it needs work, actually. It's tell great stories, write great prose, and then essential insights for your best work. I think, lucid means to cast light on something. It's It's the Latin term for light.
Yep.
Or clarity even. So there's a couple of different ways. So I think my brand, I try to deliver excellence. I never talk about it that way, but that's really what I'm doing. That's my whole goal, is to have somebody work with me and go, that worked out. I did not waste my money. I did not, um,
Mhm.
I did not come for something and not get it. And
Right.
and
Right.
there's a lot of agility involved in that. You have to be an agile thinker, especially when you're brainstorming story development with writers who are stuck on a project, that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. You got to just love it,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know that I too need a statement.
Yeah, and I think there's, a real difference between brand and marketing. I mean,
Yeah.
your brand is part of your marketing, but so my website's name is Orchard Writing,
Yeah.
and one is because my real name is, there was a president, there was a
Right.
Nobel, kind of, it just was clogged. So I needed something original, and I said I can use this as a branding moment.
Yeah.
And I want to push the writing, but some image that, creates, I don't know, a sensation with somebody. And so
Yeah.
Orchard, I've
Yeah.
always loved Orchard. So I thought that would be it. And then on the website, it's Live Your Literary Life. I help people like you create, tell, and sell your story to the world.
Yeah.
And, but that's, that to me, that's not brand. That's my marketing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Maybe I'm
Trying
conflating them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think it's easy to do. I would have, if somebody had said, look at your website, your brand is, and I'd be like, okay. But I
Yeah.
think this conversation is waking me up to the fact that, yes, you are absolutely right. Need to sit down and write out this statement. What is my brand in a
Yeah.
very substantive kind of way, as opposed to, live your literary life is, vague, and, it's supposed to be, get people excited and be aspirational and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really describe who I am as a
No,
worker.
I actually think brand, and you're right. Like, cause your brand, Coca-Cola is a brand, right? It represents something, but it
Mhm.
doesn't, it's not like live your literary life, bleh, or my thing, tell great stories, write great prose, because those are aimed at the person viewing the website. Those are like a definition of what they might want, the what's in it for me aspect of
Mhm.
any website. And your brand is something that carries through all of the activities you do. So I also teach, and my brand there is that I divulge all. Like I show them exactly how I work. I don't hold anything back unless
Mhm.
it's under a non-disclosure agreement. So I can't show actual editorial letters. I can't show actual contracts and scopes of work, but I can show stuff I've made up to emulate what those look like in my world, and how I really everything is there because I'm aiming to make myself obsolete in all the interactions I have with writers and with other editors. I want to pass everything along they can use and help and guide and be available. And then when they're off and running, it's like, learning how to walk,
Mhm.
or it's like you do it. It's your thing. I'm here to boost you.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
no, I think that makes
yeah,
absolute sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You
but
know,
so with my brand kind of being, I want to make myself obsolete. That requires me to deliver excellence. I can't not half-ass it and then think, oh, I'll teach them the rest of what I know when they come back with the next novel. I mean, that is how it kind of works out, because as a writer's abilities grow, they're ready for the next type of teaching. But
Mhm.
it's much more it's much more giving, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. So trying to come up with a brand statement that captures that.
Yeah.
It's not easy, it's challenging.
Mm.
And rather than crowdsource it to listeners, people send us, what is your brand? What is your brand
Yeah, that would
statement?
be great to hear. Like, what is your
Yeah.
brand? And it's not necessarily what's your tagline on your website. It's something else, probably. And it applies across many. If you do more than one thing for money, it applies across all of those things.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Thank
So
you. Good
send it
point.
in.
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.